Hi, this is Tracy's Kitchen and Appalachian Adventures. This is part three of the prosperity message. Why I think that it is greatly flawed, misrepresented, misinterpreted, marketed. Okay. And I do want to preface by saying that I don't have an issue with tithes and offering. I know it costs money to preach the gospel, travel time to go from here to there. Um, It costs money to make tapes, CDs, DVDs, and the like. It just costs money to preach the gospel. You have to have gas for the car, gas for the airplane. They all have to stay in hotels. So I know it just costs money to preach the gospel. It just does. It costs money to go from country to country and so on. So I don't have an issue with tithes and offerings. I don't even have an issue with a pastor or an evangelist having a 7 bedroom home. It is not my 7 bedroom home. I'm not going to maintain the house, so it's not my issue. The Bible says we must all come before the judgment seat of Christ, not before my judgment seat, before the judgment seat of Christ. Okay, so if it's okay with God that they have a 7 bedroom home, that's their issue. It's God's issue, not my issue. I do have issues with the way the prosperity message has been exploited and let's face it, it's been marketed. Okay, um, but I have a few questions. For example, why is it there has not been any dent in the local poverty? There are a lot of really rich ministries, not only in the state I live in, but all around the country. Okay, um, why haven't they bought the hotels um, that nobody wants, or either abandoned hotels or that nobody wants, and they can eliminate the whole homeless issue. Just buy a hotel and put people in there, minister to them, feed them, and all that. Okay, they can eliminate all the ramshackle houses on the Indian reservations. Why haven't the ministries done that? They got the wealth to do it. And I don't believe that they don't. I know they're gonna say, why? We don't have the money to buy to build a $25,000 home on the Indian reservation. We don't have the money to build a $15,000 trailer in extreme poverty pockets of Mississippi. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't buy the excuses. I don't buy that excuse. Why is it that there has not been no dent at all in the extreme pockets of poverty? For example, Mississippi, there are some places, excuse me, that don't have running water or electricity. Uh, the black community needs capital. Okay, there's no capital in the black community infrastructure. For example, they will leave, in the black community, the roads are terrible. They will not put asphalt on them. The potholes everywhere that will damage your tires. Um, but yet the white suburbs, their roads are paved. Sometimes they may be paved twice a year. Okay, but in the black community, the roads they're going to have a pothole for the next 100 years. Okay, it doesn't even matter. The minority communities, we don't get the capital. We don't get the business loans. Let's say if you wanted to have a business loan to do some work on the school, the minorities aren't going to get it. Okay, the white contractor is going to get it. Okay, so there's no capital in the black community. We get the liquor stores, I get it. We get the strip bars, I get that. We get the worst of the worst. We get the beer, but we don't get the fruit juice. We get the wine and the liquor and the whiskey, but we don't get the smoothies. We don't get the fruit juice. We don't get the wholesome fruit. We don't get that. But we sure do get all the worst of the worst. Definitely we get guns in the community. Definitely we get drugs in the community. We get the worst of the worst. All that garbage is poured into the black community. It's certainly not poured into the white community. But anyway, there are no lessons in the prosperity message on how to combat poverty. For example, coupons, the use of coupons, preserving food, canning, which will help stretch the dollar. Okay, are you going to thrift shops to buy the cheapest this and the cheapest that? Okay, there are examples in the scripture of preserving food. For example, if Egypt had not preserved that corn, the Israelites would have starved to death, and there would have been no way for Jesus to come to the earth because he had to come through the nation of Israel, period. He could not come through a pagan nation. He had to come through the nation of Israel, through Abraham's seed, had to. But if the Egyptians had not preserved that corn, the sons of Israel would have perished. They would have died of famine. Okay, I don't know what would have happened to them. But anyway, they went to Egypt because Egypt had sense enough to preserve food. So how much more should we preserve food? Okay, there's no talk in the prosperity message about careers. Okay, Jesus was a carpenter. So what does that mean? That means we need a career, whether your career is a police officer or a fireman or whatever. Okay, we should all have a career, nursing, whatever. Okay, where is the talk in the prosperity message about self-employment? Using our creativity. Maybe we can create things. We can get a patent on this and a patent on that. What about writing? We can write stories, get a copyright on this. There's no talk about that in the prosperity message. There's no lessons on how to stretch the food. Like I said, I've given you the example of the Egyptians, okay? There's no talk about how we can stretch our food dollar, how to stretch our dollar. There's certainly no talk about possessing the land. That's the first economic command that the Lord gave the Israelites. Why aren't they teaching blacks in particular to buy a lot somewhere, anywhere, so they can control their economy? Because I think the prosperity message that God is talking about is to control our own economy. Because he did not want the Israelites to be dependent upon the Philistines. He did not want the Israelites to be dependent upon Egypt. He keeps telling the Israelites, don't go to Egypt, don't be dependent upon the Philistines. So he wants us to have our own independent economy. Okay, there's no talk about savings. And the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children's children. That is great grandchildren. Okay, so how are we supposed to do that unless we save money? Okay, unless we buy real estate and save money. Save money for your children. Save money for yourself, for your own retirement. Save money for your children. And when your children get of age, like 18 or 20, no, you don't spend the money. You add to it. You keep adding to it. And you keep adding to it to the next generation. Why? So they will have provision. There's certainly no talk of trust funds. Actually, you can have a trust fund, not only like, the Jones Family Trust. You can have a trust fund. You can have a church trust fund. You can have any business trust fund. Okay. Like I said, there's no teaching on savings at all. They say, well, okay, if we say, they call it hoarding. Now, if they say they're just saving their money, okay, just to have it. But if we say, well, don't hoard your money, y'all. Send us your savings account. And look, some of you stupid people, some of you stupid Christians are going to empty your savings account and give it to the ministry. God did not tell you to do that. He did not tell you to empty your savings account. How stupid can you get? Okay, so how are you going to have something for your old age and something for your children if you don't save money? If you don't save your money, I don't care if it takes you 20, 30 years to save it. You need to save your money for yourself and your children. If you want to give something to your grandchildren, put it all in a will. Now, see, these ministries will say, give us your savings account. Give us $1,000 out of your savings account, $5,000. Empty your savings for them. And you thinking God's going to give you your $5,000 back in your savings. God's not going to give it back to you because you were stupid. God's not going to pay for your stupidity. Another thing the prosperities mention is that does not mention is that God prospers us according to our economy. Now, maybe your economy is a fireman. Maybe your economy is a plumber. Maybe your economy is a nurse aide. But that is your economy. See, the preachers are bragging, I got a $10 million house. Ha! I got a $5 million house. Ha! I got a $2 million house. Plus furniture. Plus china. Ha! Ow! Okay. And so we're wanting to get on their economy. We want to get on their economy. God said that's not your economy. Your economy is a nurse aide. Your economy is an LPN. Your economy is a police officer. You cannot afford, you don't have a $10 million house. You're not going to get a $10 million house. You can be blessed based on, you should be blessed based on your economy. You can still be out of debt based on your economy, whether your economy is working at the post office or whatever, minimum wage or whatever. Okay, and then they'll brag, well, ow, I bought my wife an Escalade and ow, paid it off in 3 months. Okay, and so you wonder why God does not give you an Escalade. Aren't you just as decent as they are? Okay, that's not your economy. You have to live on whatever economy God has given you in this lifetime, whatever your economy is. Okay, see, you're trying to be like them. You try to live hound the hog and have the Lincolns and the Mercedes like them, and you can't be like them. And actually, there's nothing in the scripture about living hound the hog. I don't see it. But you know what? Like I said, if they want to live on hound the hog, that's their issue. Okay, but I don't see anything in scripture about living hound the hog. Okay, I mean, why buy a $5 melon when you can buy a dollar melon? Okay, but you know what? If you want to live high on the hog, if you want to go broke real quickly, go ahead and live high on the hog. Okay, how does that help the woman on welfare who should get off? Because I think Clinton signed into law it's a 2-year limit. Okay, so how does it help the woman who needs to get off welfare? Okay. See, they are talking about what benefits them, which is giving. We give till our pockets are empty, y'all. We give till it hurts. We give till our pockets are empty. Till there's no more, nothing left to give. Okay? They talking about what benefits them. Okay? It benefits them if we give, because they're going to get the $10 million house. And they determined to get it. They're going to get their chandeliers to go with the house too. But we're going to be broke. See, poverty is some kind of, they say it's a spirit, I don't know. But it's a condition of humanity because of the curse of the law, because of Adam's sin. It is a condition of humanity. Okay, after Adam sinned, then we got poverty. Okay, God did not mean for that because the Garden of Eden had plenty. Okay, so, but because of sin, poverty came into the human genome. Okay, so poverty is something we have to combat all the time, 24/7. There can be no let up. We cannot say, okay, I'm going to combat it this month and then next month I'm going to live high on the hog. No, you can't do that. You got to combat poverty 24/7, all the time. Okay. And then look, okay, if you're trying to live like the pastors, because he has a $10 million house, and then you get mad at God because God did not give you a gold-plated microwave oven, which is ignorant because you can buy a microwave oven for what, $5 at the thrift shop? And it does the same thing. All you want to do is to pop some corn, right? Okay. It does the same thing. All you want to do is heat up some popcorn. Duh. Okay, now see, if your economy, for example, if your economy was a sharecropper, you grew up sharecropping, and so now you're 60 years old, you have your own house, you have a pension, you know what? You're prosperous because God has said, okay, you grew up with a sharecropper. Look, you have your own house, you have your own pension, you should have some decent amount of food, and you're a long way from sharecropping. That is prosperity. Or if you are an elderly person and you have lived in the same house for 30 or 40 years and you have your pension, now that you're elderly, you are prosperous. Why? Because you are not in a nursing home. Nobody is taking care of you. That is the house that you have lived in the 30 and 40 years and you died there. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in your game. Okay, God said that is the economy I've given you. And you know what? You are still blessed because you are safe in your house, you are prosperous in your house, and you you know what, you got heat in your house, you got a kitchen, you got a bath, you got a bed in your house. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if you are working at minimum wage, you have a freezer full of food that you have frozen or some canned food that you have canned. You have some money put away for emergencies because the emergencies are going to happen, either hospital emergency or your car is going to break down or there's going to be an emergency with your children, dental issues. Your children have some money in their savings account because you have been saving $5 a month for your child minimum, at least, right? Okay, instead of buying those $200 UGG boots, which you can't wear anyway, which you don't look right in anyway, you have taken that money, split it up among yourself and your children, and you put that in the bank instead of buying those UGG boots that you don't even look right in anyway. Okay, you have, instead of having the $200 nails, you have put that money in for your children, right? Instead of having $300 weed, you put that money in for yourself and for your children, right? Or you have put some money, for a emergency, rather than giving yourself a $300 weave, which looks ridiculous anyway. So your hair has grown from here to 18 inches overnight, y'all. Okay. So if you are making minimum wage and you have a freezer full of food, you have some money put away for emergencies, you have some money for your children, you know what? You are still prosperous. In the prosperity message, there is no mention of the poor. Don't talk about the poor, because we're not talking about poor. We're talking about riches. Well, guess what? You cannot sustain yourself off of riches. Just like you cannot sustain yourself off of cake. You got to eat vegetables. You got to eat grains. You got to eat nuts. You cannot sustain yourself off of cakes. Okay? So there's hardly any mention of the poor in the prosperity message, and God has a whole lot to say about the poor. For example, he says in Psalms, he raises the poor out of the dust and lifted the needy out of the dunghill. Jesus said you always have the poor with you. Okay, there's always going to be income disparities. There's going to be people making $1 million and people making $10. But you know what? You can prosper, or I'm sorry, $10,000 a year. There are some people making $1 million a year. There's some people making $10,000 a year. But what is God saying? He's saying you can prosper even in your $10,000 a year salary. There is no mention of the poor in the prosperity message, because look, why would you talk about the poor? You want to talk about rich. You want to get people all riled up to think about money, to be rich. Okay? You want to get them all riled up. But they getting riled up because they're getting the money. Okay? And the Bible has a lot to say about our attitude towards the poor. That's what got the rich man in hell. Lazarus was the poor man and the rich man. Okay, what was the rich man's problem? Now, see, if the rich man had said, look, told his servants, look, go give Lazarus a bath, give him some new clothes, give him some new sandals, and have him come to my dinner table, and we'll eat together, and we'll fellowship. There's no telling how Lazarus would have blessed that rich man. He may have come up with an idea for gardens. He may have come up with an idea for building houses. If that rich man had just taken Lazarus in and fed him and gave him a little place to stay, a little bed to sleep in, there's no telling how that rich man would have been blessed by Lazarus. It would have blessed Lazarus, but instead he saw Lazarus in life, because the Bible says he asked the Lord to ask Lazarus, can he dip his hand in the water and just give me a drink? So he knew, the rich man knew who Lazarus was. So evidently the rich man looked out from his window. He saw Lazarus eating his garbage, the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. He saw Lazarus eating his garbage. He saw the dogs eating his garbage, and he did nothing about it. Okay, he just let Lazarus continue to suffer. And that's what got him into hell. His whole attitude was about Lazarus. And you know what? He may have had that attitude about all the poor in the land. But at any rate, it got him into hell because he knew who Lazarus was. So evidently in life, he saw Lazarus maybe from his door or from his window. He saw Lazarus, dirt poor, sores all over his body, eating his garbage. He saw him. Okay? So that's why he was held responsible. If you don't see people, you're not responsible. If you don't see people, you're not responsible. I'm not responsible, for example, for somebody, a dirt poor person in Seattle, Washington. I'm not responsible for him, because I don't even know how to help him. I don't even know who that person is. But I am responsible for who I see. I am responsible for who the Lord puts me in touch with. I am responsible for that. Okay, but that's what got Lazarus in hell, is the attitude toward, the rich man. It's what got him in hell. It's his attitude toward one poor person, which was probably his attitude toward all poor persons. Okay, so there's no mention of the poor in the prosperity message. But God clearly says in Psalms, I think, I don't know, maybe it could be 100, but he said he raises up the poor out of dust and lifted the needy out of dunghill. That's what got the Israelites into judgment because they were taking from the poor, the widows and the orphans. They were stealing money. They were stealing their houses. They were stealing their land from the widows and the orphans. That's what God judged them. He said you're going to be desolate. Ain't nothing going to be left of you, hardly. Okay. So they were taking from the widows and orphans, just like they do now in Ponzi scams and pyramid scams in the church. What you're doing is stealing from the widows and orphans. And believe it or not, like I said, the Ponzi scams and pyramid scams are prevalent in the church. If you want to deceive the maximum amount of people in the shortest period of time, just market a pyramid or a Ponzi scam in the church. And what they're doing is stealing from the widows and orphans, and they're going to get judged for that. Some go to jail, but some don't. Okay? Now, look, I don't think God minds if a ministry build a house for a poor person, uh, pay their bills, whatever. Okay, I don't think He minds. Okay, you're supposed to help if it's within your power to do so. I mean, I think that is in Proverbs. It is within your power to help somebody. You're supposed to do it. Now, if you only have, let's say you only have $30 in your pocket, okay, and you come across a homeless people, yes, it is within your power to give that person $5. Or if you want to buy him a dinner, it's within your power to do that with a coupon. But of course, if it is within your power, you are supposed to help people. What is within your power? But I just don't see any ministries, particularly the super rich ministry. I don't see them buying hotels for homeless people. I don't see them making a dent in the homeless population. I don't see them making a dent in these extreme poverty places, in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Appalachia. I don't even see it. And you know what? The fact is, there are a lot of ministries going bankrupt. There are a lot of pastors and evangelists in personal bankruptcy. Why? Because nobody knows how to manage money. And we as Christians, we need to learn how to manage money because uh, Solomon said, above all, get wisdom. Above all, get understanding. Okay? If you're poor, you need to understand money. I recommend poor people read every book there is to read on money, how to manage money. Okay? Uh, Now, for example, the payday loans. Quicken Loans actually has an arena. See, why don't Christians have an arena? Okay. Why is it that Quicken Loans has an arena? That the Christians are going to minister to people? That makes no sense. Quicken Loans have gotten rich from from stupid black people because they give them these payday loans at 300% interest. Ignorant stuff. That's how Quicken Loans have gotten rich off of stupid black people in the inner city. Now, what's the truth of the matter is that most black people would have money if they would just cut back on food. They eat too much. You cut back on food instead of spending $300 on food, you'll have your money. You don't have to go to Quicken Loans or any payday loan. But Quicken Loan has, let's get real, they have made their money off of stupid black people in the ghetto. And they actually have an arena that pastors are going to preach at to minister to people. Now, what kind of sense does that make? A pastor is preaching at an arena owned by Quicken Loans, which is a predatory loan people. I mean, that makes no sense. Okay, what I don't understand is why don't pastors, why don't these churches own an arena? Why don't they own the hotel to house homeless people? Why don't they own the abandoned schools to house senior citizens, homeless senior citizens? Okay, but the irony of poverty, like I said, poor people must understand money. We must understand how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Those four operations are in the scripture. Okay. Actually, we should live below our means. There's no talk about that in the prosperity message. We should live below our means all the time. Okay. We shouldn't live high in the hog. They are living high in the hog, but we don't have to. Okay. The borrower is servant to the lender. We shouldn't be borrowing for any reason. But God knows we're stupid. We borrow for a house or borrow for a car. Okay. But if you're going to borrow, make it a very short-term loan. If you borrow, for example, if you buy a house, I recommend 5 years or less, 3 years or less. If you have a car, I recommend 2 years or less. If you want to borrow for a car, I wouldn't recommend you borrow it all for a car. But the Lord knows that you don't have sense enough to save your money for the car. He knows that, okay? We must be independent of the system. Christians must be independent of the system. Poor people must be independent of the system. Poor people need to stop giving our money to these payday loans. We need to stop buying these stupid plastic from China. We need to pay cash for a house. Always buy a lot with a house. You buy a lot somewhere, anywhere. I don't care if you buy it in Toledo, Ohio. Buy a 10 by 70 lot. I don't care where you buy it. Always buy it because you may need it. When you become homeless, you lose your job or whatever, you can park right there in your lot. You can lot. That's your lot. Okay, you can park right there, and nobody will say anything to you. Police will not say anything to you. Okay. We always need to live cheap. We need to learn to preserve food. Because you know what? There are already food shortages. I see it in the grocery stores. I see the food shortages. We better learn to preserve the can and do something. Because I already see the shortages. Because the truth is, these grocery stores, even though they're springing up everywhere, they cannot even keep up with the food supply. Because there's so many immigrants coming into this country. They got to feed 24 million additional people. And now it's going to be 30 more additional people. And these grocery stores simply cannot keep up with the demand. I know. I go to the grocery stores. So those are some things I think are missing in the prosperity message. Overall, I would say that whatever this condition of humanity called poverty, poor people have to constantly be vigilant in combating poverty. We have to always live below our means. The borrower servant, don't borrow for any reason. Pay cash for everything. Be independent of this system because this system is not for you. And I wish black men in particular would understand that this system is not for you. You better be independent of this system. They do not care whether you sink or swim. And black women, I'm talking to you too. You must sacrifice this hair and nails and put that money in your child's future and in your own future. Forget about the hair and nails. Stop trying to look like a clown. It costs money to look like a clown. Your hair gone from 3 inches to 18 inches overnight. It costs money to look like a clown. It costs money to have nails out to here with 5 different colors on it. It costs money to look like that. And we all know. But those are things that I think are missing in the prosperity message. Have a nice day.